I won't be home for tea. We're going to Italy. Tell me, mommy, ma. Yes, hello everyone. Welcome. We are live, everyone. We are live on YouTube, Twitch. We're doing a late one because of match of the day. I was going to do this about an hour earlier, but all the videos. This is the last one. I hope you've enjoyed all the stuff that we've put out today. We've got one more video going on NFTV Extra. But welcome everybody. You can see by the title that Yasir Al-Rumayyan has met with Eddie Howe to talk about transfers. He's getting straight to the point. He's not doing what Ange Postecoglou or I want a break. Eddie Howe wants to go straight to it. So I admire that about Eddie Howe. We'll talk about that towards the end of this live stream. So get your comments coming in about the fact that Newcastle were beaten today, but the fact that we've qualified for the Champions League. And also about Yasir Al-Rumayyan as well. So please get them coming. Yeah, we've got a few years coming in. To be fair, I would tell Botman, Gordon. Oh, blooming hell, that list is massive, Jan. Why all of them? Bruno won't move. And Burn Courtable. I can't even read the screen. Great day, but we should have got our Champions League spot before the last day. Need to do better next year at home against a mid-table team. Home losses to Brighton, Fulham, West Brom, Bournemouth, and Everton almost cost us fifth place. Chelsea says hiya. Calvin says hello. And Jonathan Greenwood says Champions League mags. Brilliant. So we have qualified. It doesn't really matter about how we performed. We just had to get there. Obviously, Newcastle's run at the back end of the season, 2 defeats. Doesn't look great, but who cares? We just had to qualify, and that's what everyone was talking about going into this game because it was nervy, of course. We were all looking at the Premier League table before getting into the match, and it's like, it's so tight because obviously us getting beat last weekend, all the teams won last weekend. They come right up behind us. So it was a case of, right, it's still in Newcastle's hands. That's the positive going into this weekend's game against Everton. Now, we all thought, oh, here we go. It's the Jordan Pickford show. He's got to come back. He's going to, because he actually was, I wouldn't say hero at Goodison Park, but he did save Anthony Gordon penalty, if you remember. So that should have been a Newcastle win. We dominated that game. We went through a phase of we couldn't score at that time. But look, everybody was still optimistic. Last home game of the season, a point probably would have been enough considering Chelsea and Forest have got to play each other, and then you're just relying on Aston Villa not to win against Man United. More on that later. But as you can see, for people who are listening on the audio, I'm just showing a video of going past the Shiraz statue, heading into St. James's Park a little bit earlier. I got into St. James's Park quite late. I didn't go in early. I didn't get my free pint or anything like that. I got in there about 3:10, 3:15. So, and I didn't have any phone signal. So more on that later. But look, and I do want to touch upon the unbelievable display by War Flags. You have to say it was quite incredible. Now, they were going to come up with an original idea, but because of the wind, they couldn't put that out. But again, I'll show a graphic on screen for you so you can have a look at it. It is breathtaking. Obviously, there's some parts of me wish I could see looking at the Gallagher when these displays are on. But obviously, it's quoting Bruno's quote, but you can see the badge there where the wings is across in the leases. It just looks breathtaking. And obviously, you've got the flags going in the East Stand as well. What an incredible job that War Flags have done this season. We've got to pay tribute to them because the fan funded and that they rely on donations, and you get displays like that. So massive fair play and well done to War Flags. They're a massive credit to Newcastle United and every single supporter in and around St James's Park. So absolutely unreal. Before we kick off and look at the team and all that, I will keep coming back to the live chat every so often, so do keep them coming in as well. And this is my turnstile, so this is me just looking. It looks quite empty, doesn't it, considering it's 3:10, but everybody was inside because by the time I got in, you couldn't move. So I thought, oh, yeah, I'm not too worried about my free drinks. I'm happy just to go and sit in my seat, do a bit of filming, what have you. Talk to a couple of people around us, but yeah, nice sunny day, but a bit windy, wasn't it? It was a bit windy. Let's have a look at you, see if any of your live chat coming as well. Leighton's in the chat as well. Says Newcastle surprised me today. First time in a big game, we didn't strike fear in the opposition. And then Shez has gone on to say, I don't really care that we were beaten. It was a hard watch. I'm just glad we got a Champions League spot. It's important for keeping our top talent. Great point, by the way. Fantastic point, because if we didn't get Champions League, there might have been one or two, you know what the rags are like, stirring crap up about with players leaving, despite we're winning a trophy. Newcastle Clips has gone on to say, I think it was key right at the end of the press conference when he said, we will not sign world-class players. We'll be looking for future stars. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, more than that, because that's coming up towards the end. So, right. Obviously, Jordan Pickford. Bruno lost the toss. I think he's only won 5 all season. So Pickford was right down at the Gallagher end. And of course, I give him some boos. Just about 6 seats to my left, there's a kid dressed as a dinosaur and another kid holding a dinosaur ready for the Pickford show. And to be fair to Jordan Pickford, I actually thought he played pretty decent, to be fair, as well as Nick Pope. We'll come on to the game in a second, but let's have a look at the lineups. Of course, now obviously the talking point was Alexander Isak was back. I was like, ooh, Isak is back. Botman's made it, It's 3 at the back in possession, 5 in out of possession, 5-4-1 effectively. Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes in the middle, Gordon and Bond on the wings, Isak up top, Callum Wilson on the bench. He came on later on, of course. We'll talk about his departure very shortly, but great to see Kieran Trippier back as well. So it looked better because obviously we've still got Joe Linton out. He would have started. No doubt Joe Linton and Lewis Hall would have, but good side, you have to say. But let's talk about the game then. Again, I haven't even seen. Have I seen the? Oh, I did. I just watched Match of the Day. Sorry, I was going to say I haven't seen the replays. I just have watched Match of the Day, and great ending for Gary Lineker, by the way. When Shearer stepped in, but we're not talking about that. But Pickford was forced into a few saves. Nick Pope, the other hand, had he in that first half. It was Newcastle were having a lot of possession of the ball, but I want to see more of Gordon. I want to see more of Isak, especially kicking down the Gallagher end. It's like, where's the final product come from? And obviously, Pope was forced into a fantastic save when I think it was Alcaraz who headed it, and Pope had to push it over, and he had a couple of low down saves. Pickford had to come up with that double one from Tonali, then it rebounded back to Isak. And obviously, your signal isn't great. I mean, I can't get any signal at all where I am now. I used to be able to get signal, but it's got worse. And you're meant to have 5G and all this, but I couldn't. No one's got signal, so at half time you draw. We're not too worried about the scoreline elsewhere. Granted, you're listening to the Tanine, you're keeping an eye on it because obviously you can't see the scores where we are, so you're listening. And I think if I remember correctly, everyone bar Man City. I think Man City were winning, but we learned at half time that Martinez had been sent off for Aston Villa. We had no idea why. Obviously, I've seen it back now. Obviously, comes running out of goal, eyes totally on the player. Clearly a red card, but as it was at that stage, because I think Chelsea were drawn, I believe, as well. So it was same as for Newcastle. We are sitting at half time in a Champions League spot. That'll do. Newcastle need to go on in that second half and go and get that killer goal. But of course, we didn't. Let's come up back to the live chat as well. Newcastle fan Lewis, not very often we wanted Man United to win, but thank you very much. We have got Champions League football. We do. It was not the greatest football matches in the world. Our parents looked really tired the last couple of weeks, but at least they get a rest now. And yeah, how are the lads? How are the ladies? How are the pets? Etc. Etc. Says Godfather as well. Drop us a like if you can for the content. That would be absolutely lovely of you. So thank you very much. This is the last match day of the season for us. The videos will keep going during the summer. I'm going full time in the matter of 2 months, and that'll be around about the time I go to Asia. So loads and loads of stuff happening with the channel. So loads of experimenting going on. So stay tuned for that. So going into the second half, then, can Newcastle go on and create? But we had a lot of possession, because if you look at, we are going to come to the stats a little bit later. We had a lot of the possession, but we didn't test Pickford enough for me. I think Isak had a shot from distance in that second half. Pope had to do 1 or 2 saves, but haven't looked at back, and I've done scoring the players. in the Leazes Park, and I would probably change my mind about Dan Burn now, because I thought Dan Burn had a great game, but Dan Burn slips just before Everton score Alcaraz, and if Burn doesn't slip, that doesn't go in. No, that's probably, am I being a bit harsh? Maybe I am, but if Burn doesn't slip, it's unfortunate. Maybe I'll knock a score down to a 7 because I scored him an 8, but Burn slips, and then Alcaraz has got a free header, and Everton have gone 1-0 up. And then you're thinking, right, we're 1-0, do know what's happening elsewhere. And we got a word that I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was about 5 minutes later, we heard that Man United had gone in front. Now, we've had this before. If any of us remember being in the Championship, the last game of the season, when we were playing, and Villa were playing Brighton, and there was a goal celebration rather, because people were celebrating the Gallagher, and that never happened. And obviously, right to the very end, Grealish scored, didn't he? Which sent Newcastle up as champions of the Championship. But then we heard, and what was interesting, and I haven't seen this for such a long time, so many people just couldn't get phone signal and anxious and nervous of what's going on, because Newcastle are getting beat. What's the score in the Chelsea game? We're not really asked about Man City. What's going on in the Man United game? Obviously, that's the one that everyone was focused on around me. They were all looking at the phones, like, what's the score, what's happening? Because we knew that Martinez was being sent off. So what people were doing is they were leaving the seat and they were going downstairs to have a little look at the TV screen to come back up to tell everybody. Loads of people, I've never seen so many people during the match keep going back and forth. It's like, bloody hell, it's like half time this now when everyone just goes downstairs. So then we had learned that Man United had scored another one, a second one, and that was the cushion. Then that was around the 85th minute, I think it is, with the Toon game. But then the songs start happening, celebrations, tell me ma, we're off to Italy and all that sort of stuff. And that must have felt a bit odd for the players, because then they would have probably realised, well, wait a minute, they're celebrating something over there in the corner, in the strawberry corner. The results must be going our way. But Newcastle still need to go and score. We didn't, but I just didn't feel that we had enough in that final third, because yes, you can hear the results are going the other way, but I thought Gordon was poor. He was chucked off at half time. I thought his form has been really, really poor since he's got suspended, and then when England got injured, his form, he just hasn't looked the same. Barnes was indifferent. Isak looks knackered. I'm not going to blame it on fatigue. He just wasn't there. Isak just hasn't been the same player the last few games, but I would much rather have a 60-70% Isak in that starting lineup than any other striker at the club. But the front line, just for whatever reason, just aren't firing. Whoever's playing there at the minute, and it's like you're trying to get your car to the garage. Your car's like knackered, if that makes sense. You're nearly there. Get it to the garage, will be alright, we'll fix it. That's what it was like. Not that I've ever experienced that, touch wood, but that's what I'm thinking it was like. Do you know what I mean? But the full time whistle went. It was huge celebrations. The crowd already knew. The players were just waiting for official confirmation to come through, because when Eddie Howe shaked David Moyes' hand, he must have knew we're nearly there, but until the official confirmation come through, it was about a minute later. That's when he's seen all the players in the huddle jumping and celebrating and all that. And then, of course, the lap of appreciation. If you haven't seen that lap of appreciation, it's on my channel to fascinate and watch. So we got there. We will take a look at the league table, but it's a bit weird, because even I've never been in that situation of not knowing what's happening elsewhere because not having any phone signal. So then I was thinking, right, I've got any phone signal. I'm going to go into the Leazes Park. Maybe I'll get some signal there. I couldn't get signal in Leazes Park, so I did the match reaction. I thought, right, what am I doing here? I had to go back in St. James's Park. I didn't know what to do. So I thought, right, I'm just going to go on the players here until I get signal. And then I got signal up towards where did I park my car again? Because I always park my car in two different places, up Westgate Road. Then I started getting messages coming through. Oh, we've got Champions League, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. But it was just class that we did it, and we are there, and that's the most important thing. And who cares that we got beat? Do you know what? It doesn't feel like a defeat, if that makes sense, because we've got a greater good. It's weird, that, isn't it? I've never felt that emotion coming from St. James's Park before, that we've been beaten, yet I feel good. I don't think I've ever had that in my life. gone to St James's Park for over 20, 30 years. I'm just like, nah, it feels good. Do you know what I mean? Because it's been a great good. It's just a weird feeling. It really was. Let's go back to the live chat to see what you're saying. Tied second year with 3 teams. It's Charlie Goatfather's gone to say Eddie Howe spilling some beans about pre-season and the difficulties behind closed doors. Is he referring to Paul Mitchell and Amanda Staveley? Yes, he did mention that. I am going to come to that towards the end with the video title. Not more me. Leslie's gone out to say Gordon just needs to reset, given some rest and a big pre-season ahead. Obviously, he does have a couple of England games coming up, doesn't he? And Gordon and Isak dropped off a bit. It's been frustrating. But that's the thing. If they're dropping off, who's stepping up? That's where the squad comes in. Unfortunately, we don't have that. Hopefully this summer we do. Face planted over the line for this season. Massive investment needed now. Again, Eddie Howe's hinted on that as well. And it's a good defeat, says a good father. Now, I do want to pay a bit of tribute to Callum Wilson, who, again, if you haven't seen the full clip of this is available on my YouTube channel. Nothing was officially announced by the club, but this tells its own story. He's absolutely in bits. He's in tears. He's upset because he's saying goodbye, and he's been here a long time. And it was only 2 seasons ago he bagged 18 goals. The competition with Isak, that was his best season, weirdly, in a Newcastle shirt. And he got us to the Champions League. Now, people are saying that he saved us from relegation. Yes, he did, but he also got with the Champions League the first time around. And him and under Bruce, under Bruce, it was only Alan Saint-Maximin and Callum Wilson. It was literally Park 9. The other two do the rest. But Wilson had a bit of pace, and it was Alan Saint-Maximin. I mean, that was just a joke. So I've got a lot of time for Callum Wilson for what he's done at the club. It's the right time to move him on. It is, but that now opens up a gap because Willisula's not ready to be second fiddle. I think Willisula looks probably a little bit more dangerous on the wing. I thought he was decent when he came on as well. But there's no shadow of doubt about Newcastle will be going after a striker this summer. And we'll talk about transfers in a moment. But just with Callum Wilson, yeah, it's with a heavy heart he says goodbye. But remember the stuff that he's done for. I think 1 or 2 people are just thrown the injuries, which I get. But look what he's done. We might not have been in the Premier League. We might have even got Eddie Howe if we were playing the Championship, because there's no guarantees that we're coming straight back up under Steve Bruce. No chance of that. So Callum Wilson will move on. And then there's only really the 2 goalkeepers, Mark Gillespie and John Ruddy. Are both of them going to leave? Is one of them going to stay? Obviously, you need rid of Vlachodimos, to be honest with you. But those 2 are the other 2 players that are out of contract. They didn't do any lap of appreciation on their own or anything. But right, let's hear from Eddie Howe.
Wanted the day to go from our perspective in terms of how we played. We always knew it was going to be a difficult game. There was no underestimating of Everton at all. They're a solid team, men behind the ball. They got a physical threat in their team. So all those things made them dangerous opponents today. But I just felt our desire to win and to do well was probably too great, if that makes sense. I think we made some poor decisions on the ball, very unlike us. We were snatching at things. We were making the wrong decisions a lot of the time in the attacking half. And we haven't played that way for a long, long time. So, yeah, disappointed with our product today. But then you look over the season and you can't fault anybody. It's been a monumental season, a huge effort from the players, and I'm very proud of them. I think if you said at the start of the season, especially the way we started the season, how the season would end, or struggle to find too many people believe that we were in a position to do that at that time. We had an inconsistent beginning. We had a disruptive summer. We haven't signed a big signing in 3 transfer windows. They're all huge challenges. Lost players as well that we wouldn't have wanted to lose. So the players that we do have regrouped and just gave more and gave everything, and that's why they deserve huge credit. It's very easy now to look back and see it through different eyes, but they're the challenges that we faced. A brilliant group to manage and to work with every day, very professional, and they've got their rewards.
They do have their rewards. Again, we'll come back to what Eddie Howe said very, very briefly, but that was Eddie Howe on the performance against Everton today. And fair play to Everton, I want to bring up the stats with how it looks, because if you actually look at the shots, we are on the left-hand side of the graphic and Everton on the right-hand side. Everton had 14 shots for away side. I think that's too much for away side. 6 of them on target, same as Newcastle 6. Obviously, they only had 34% possession, and obviously almost half the amount of passes, but they went long more often than not. But they played on the counter and they tested Nick Pope, who probably is a contender for man of the match. Originally I said Dan Burn, but probably not. I mean, even Tonali perhaps. But and look at that picture, Tonali smiling. You don't normally see that, do you? But look, Everton came with a game plan. We haven't scored against Everton this season, and we haven't even scored against Everton this season. So they've got 4 points from us this season. So fair play. And David Moyes is, Everton maybe an outside bet, and I say outside bet. There could be a top 10 side next season if they do have any investment. But yeah, interesting with the stats then, wasn't it? It was. And let's talk about what he said in the press conference briefly. I am going to come back to the transfers. But yeah, let's have a little look at what he was saying then. So he mentioned briefly there in that audio clip that we haven't been able to strengthen a proper first team player for 3 transfer windows, which we are now. That is fine. But if you notice that Eddie Howe has now been talking about transfers briefly in his pre-match, the last 2, that he's already hinted that there's no PSR restrictions. He's expecting, the way he's talking, that Newcastle are going to splash the cash this summer. I think we are as a fan base. The board cannot say no to that. The board cannot have been holding back. He's just won you a fucking trophy. And he's got your Champions League football. What else do you want him to do? And obviously you can talk about Eddie Howe during the season and the squad. And everybody references the Brentford game. Even myself, because I had to go at Eddie Howe after that. The turnaround since then, generally, has been absolutely sensational. Yes, we've had 1 or 2 disappointing results. But generally, it's been absolutely sensational. We've matched Liverpool for the run to the end of the season. When Liverpool started the season, when Liverpool were firing, I seen that stat earlier the night on Twitter, and you've got to give credit. And he's also said that players that he couldn't keep because of the PSR, you would have liked to keep Minton. He's had a good season at Brighton. Elliot Anderson's had a good season in Nottingham Forest. They're the players that he's hinting on about. And then he's been asked about the transfers as well, which I'll bring up here for you. Because he was asked in the presser, is he going to hang around for transfers? Well, the chairman Yasir Al-Rumayyan is here. Obviously, you've seen him in the VT earlier on Newcastle Fans TV along the lap of appreciation. Transfer talks are going to happen. Like when I was looking at the Ange Postecoglou interview, it was, he wants a break, he's tired. Eddie Howe's not. Eddie Howe's already grafting, thinking, fuck this. I'm going to get me signings in early. I want to start signing players. And this is what he said about the transfers in the presser. And he said, speed is key for us. I've reiterated many times internally. Speed is key because we have to be dynamic. We have to be ready to conclude things very quickly because good players don't hang around for long. That's always been my thought and my message on recruitment, because you can have a period where you think you have time, but when you look around quickly and you see that time has elapsed and you've missed opportunities you won't get again, that's what we will be trying. But the reality is it's not always in your hands. But we will do our best to do things early. The power, and this is the key sentence here, everyone, the power of the Champions League is huge. It's a selling point for us now. It's an opportunity to sell that dream to future players that might be considering coming to us. Massive that we've qualified for the Champions League, like Eddie Howe was saying, because that now can swing somebody to say, I don't know, I don't know, there's a 4th club in Germany finished 4th that cannot make Champions League football, or a team, I might go to Benfica or Sporting Lisbon, I play Champions League football. Yes, it's a lesser league, but I'm playing Champions League. But now we have Champions League football, them targets, as you said, they have to go after them. And Paul Mitchell cannot let Eddie Howe down. The board, Darren Eales, Peter Silverstone, the commercial team, they've got to get what he wants. There's a small transfer window that's opening because of the Club World Cup. Can we get a big signing in then? Can we do it? Or if you can't get it then, can you have it agreed to happen in 2-3 weeks when it properly opens up after the competition's ended? The legs have to start spinning now, have to go in motion. The wheels have to go in motion, not the legs. You know what I was on about. So for me, there cannot be none of this. Oh, we'll wait, because you seen the kind of Mark Gahey towards the end of the transfer window, and then there was like this mad rush of trying to find. I think it was Alanga that was linked on the August deadline day, wasn't there? He's got to get back now. There's no excuses. We've got all the money from the likes of Adidas, wrong badge league, Adidas and what have you, Seller, Champions League money. Go and get him. Go and get the players that he wants. Go and get them. We have to strengthen. We have to go and get a striker. We have to go and get another right winger, possibly another centre midfielder if Sean Longstaff goes, and possibly another centre back. Even possibly a goalkeeper might even come in. There could be a few here that are happening. But what are you lot saying on it? We'll come to the live chat as well before we start to wrap up and everything. Benny's going to say funny how luck works. Mings avoids a red card for what was that? I can't read that for. Who's at Bournemouth? There we go. Spurs throwing the reserves against Villa last week. Liverpool rest 6 players for Chelsea, and we get lucky today. And Ches has gone and said there's nothing clickbaity about the title. He clearly mentioned at the beginning of the stream that Eddie would meet with the chairman today rather than later. You got here late. Thank you very much, Ches. I've literally just covered that right now. And then Newcastle fan has gone out to say, plus Newcastle already had the Champions League shirt ready with the badge on, because when we qualified, they put it on social media straight away. I think those sort of stuff, not to put a downer on it, are already pre-designed anyway. Morgan Rogers first signing, cough, cough. Would you have Morgan Rogers? Interesting. Who would be your ideal striker to come in the summer? I think I am going to do a video on it, because there is one or two from Serie A and the Bundesliga that I like. But if you wanted a second choice striker, I think you've got to look at probably who someone is available is Liam Delap. Now, he's not my ideal signing, no. But Champions League football, you play more games than what Callum Wilson is. You'll not play every game, because Isak's obviously... But if you had someone like Delap available right now and Isak's slugging it, he would be a great squad player. He's not my ideal signing. I've always said Nico Williams, but that's just another dream for another day. That's never going to happen, because I've liked him even before the Euros, when then obviously came on the scene with Spain, but I don't think that'll ever happen because his wages are absolutely through the roof. But yes, chairman, meeting Eddie Howe for transfers, talked about that as well. And let's have a look at the final league table, because it looks good. And somebody predicted that Newcastle would finish 5th on the overlap right at the start of the season. That's this guy speaking right now. So there we go. Newcastle United, 5th in the Premier League. So there you go. I am back, everybody. Sorry, I knocked my webcam off. I knocked my webcam flying. I am back, everybody. Right. So there is the final Premier League table of the season. Liverpool champions. Arsenal finished 2nd. There's a meme there somewhere. Man City finished 3rd. Chelsea leapfrogged Newcastle with their win against Forest. Newcastle finished 5th, as I said on the overlap. Newcastle will finish 5th and get in the Champions League for the back door. I also said that the Lassers will finish 5th as well, so I should have put the lottery on. Aston Villa drop out and go down to the Europa League in 6th place. Nottingham Forest are 7th, and Brighton only finished 4 points behind Forest, so they finished 8th. And Chelsea, of course, have got the Conference League final. I'm not sure, someone might tell me in the live chat, if Chelsea win that Conference League, I'm not sure if Brighton qualify or not. I think match of the day, we're saying that they don't, but I don't fully know about that. But that league table looks great, doesn't it? It looks good. We finished 5th, 20 wins in a season's class, isn't it? Absolutely phenomenal. And none of this big 6 anymore, because you look at Spurs, who finished 17th, which is an absolute embarrassment. And Man United finished, 15th or something like that? No, none of this big 6, because there's always an outsider in that Champions League places, and it's Newcastle's turn once again, like it was 2 seasons ago, and of course Aston Villa the season before then. So and in all honesty, after that Brentford game, I really didn't think that we were going to get European football. I thought we were hovering around mid-table, and I was fearful of Eddie Howe's job, to be honest with you. But what a turnaround. Absolutely incredible as well. We'll have a look and see what the journalists have been saying about the performance, about today as well, and we'll have a look and do a recap of the live chat for the last time. And Keith Downey has gone on to say, what a season for Newcastle. Today's result doesn't matter. It's an accumulation of points. To win the first trophy since 1969, I think that's meant to say, and qualify for the Champions League goes down as one of the best in the club's history. You've all taken that in a heartbeat before ball was kicked, 100%, since Bobby Moncur lifted the old Fairs Cup, which got turned to UEFA Cup and Europa League later. Annoys me that UEFA don't recognise it, but FIFA do. So I'll take FIFA's word for it. Luke Edwards has gone on to say, you make your own luck over the course of the season, and Newcastle United fully deserve to secure Champions League football and to end a 70-year wait for domestic trophy. We already knew it, but this summer is going to be huge. They simply have to strengthen across the squad. This group has been great the last 3 years, but they have to be reinvigorating and need upgrades in key positions. Totally agree. We just literally talked about that, didn't we, about the transfers that Eddie Howe wants them in early. And obviously he's met with the chairman, Yasir Al-Rumayyan, tonight to discuss that. Chris Wafford's gone on to say, and he loves his emojis, War Waffy. He's gone on to say, Champions League confirmed. Bizarre, tension-filled day. Newcastle didn't do the jobs themselves, but Man United did them a favour for once. System failure. Result immaterial, thankfully. So there is your journalist there and then. And it's been a fantastic season covering Newcastle United and all. Obviously, we're not. Are we not? I am counting down to Celtic away in pre-season, July 19. I'm not going to lie. Because I hate this time of year. This is where I wouldn't go as far as depressed. I wouldn't go that far. But I do have a few little lows in the off-season because I normally have a lads and a lasses match to go over Newcastle home and away, or wherever it is in the land. That's now taken away for 7 weeks, so I have to find a new hobby to do. But I hopefully you've enjoyed all of the coverage from everybody as well, across all of the team as well. I'll come back to that in a minute. But here we are, the final live chat, and let's have a look to see what you say. First and second, well-run legacy clubs. Third and fourth, financially dope clubs. Fifth, us. Eddie couldn't have done it better. Forest and Wolfie in the Champions League was my second highlight today. Ches has gone out to say 2 games ago we were in for second place. A few decent signings to strengthen our depth, and it doesn't seem too far stretched to call ourselves a regular top 3. And Derek's gone to say Villa fans are all crying foul. I know, I've seen that with Emery. The Rodgers one, I don't think that shouldn't be disallowed. I think that should have been given. And then, but if that's given as a goal, Newcastle don't qualify for the Champions League. So I'm quite thankful of that. I'm counting down the days for the derby, says Newcastle fan. Yeah, brilliant. Very difficult to do with the Champions League football. So hopefully we'll get the right reinforcements regarding depth. Most inconsistent season I've ever known, being alive since 95, says Charlie. And good points being made by Goatfather and Ches Green. Newcastle fan, don't forget we've got the Grand Prix F1 as well. And who gets the conference playoff. It depends what Chelsea do, I think. But my team, is speaking of F1, Ferrari comes second. So we'll take that a day. It's an improvement because we've had an awful season in F1, but you just haven't tuned in to talk about the F1. That's for NFTV Extra when Dale gets to do a video. But look, it's been a roller coaster of a season. It has. And as I say, I want to thank you to Sam, who's obviously departed, Carl, who's departed, Joe for his enthusiasm, Johnny for his professionalism, Juliet, I've got big hopes for her over the summer, Dale, who's come on board on Facebook and YouTube, Liam, Josh behind the scenes, you never see them on camera. So I hope you've all enjoyed all of our content across the socials. It doesn't stop, by the way. I'm not saying goodbye to you or anything like that, but just the match day stuff stops for 7 weeks. And I bet you're all looking forward to transfer rumours videos by everybody else, aren't you? Yeah, we'll try our best not to do as many as them for you. Obviously, we've got the whiteboard. That's coming back. That's going up. There's loads of new stuff going up. around us as well. All of this behind me is getting taken down because it looks a bit tacky for me. I want to make it look professional, ready for going full time in July. But yeah, if you can drop us a massive like on this video. If you listen on the audio, apologies. This is a very long one if you listen on Apple and wherever you get your podcast from as well. But that's it for this season of all the matches. We'll be back in a day or two doing another video for you. But yeah, from me and the team, thank you for watching this season. Take care. Bye-bye.